Good evening, folks. This is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates.
Folks, this is Ron Tyler with the Emergency Management Associates coming to you live from the crossroads of the West in Lake City, Utah. The time right now is 7:05 p.m.
Barely clear on the backside of the sun, and the earth located in the sun hitting the earth is located around 3.5 miles southeast of the earth is now the solar wind is also
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be on this globe of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we have been doing for quite some time, probably close to 3 years, we're going to start off tonight's program with the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. I would ask everyone to please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
America's finest right there.
America's finest. The United States Army Barbershop Quartet performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. The Barbershop Quartet Convention hosts giving us the Pledge of Allegiance. We want to thank all of our military members, wherever they might be, here in this country or around the world. We want to also thank our allied armed forces, wherever they might be. God bless you all, and may you all return home to your families in safety after your tours of duty end. God bless you all, and thank you for your service. Folks, I always, and I've said this before, every serviceman that I see in uniform, I tell them, thank you for your service, and I shake their hand. I appreciate each and every one of them that give their lives for us. They interrupt their lives to serve our nations. They interrupt their lives to serve our nations, and some of them don't return home. God bless them. God bless their families for their service. We have to love these people. It's imperative that we show them love and respect. I see so many servicemen, we reported on that last night, over in San Clemente, California. 3 of our Marines got beat up by a bunch of kids. That's disgraceful. Totally disgraceful. Anyway, folks, I want to talk about some other things tonight. The first thing I want to talk about off the top is we now have at least 4 or 5 states that have sent their National Guard troops to the Texas and the Arizona border to stop the unlawful migration of people from other countries through our southern border. It's got to stop. The South Carolina governor, Governor McMaster, said today, at the request of Texas Governor Greg Abbott, I have directed deployment of South Carolina National Guard troops to Texas to help hold the line on the southern border. The safety and the security of South Carolina require that we stop the drug cartels, the criminals, and the terrorists from entering our country to peddle their poison. I would ask the North Carolina governor to do the same thing. I'm going to be contacting him in the morning and asking him to do the same thing. I'm going to call his office, and I will call his office until I have a chance to speak with the governor himself and tell him that he needs to send our National Guard troops from North Carolina down to the southern border as well. Folks, this is imperative. We have a huge problem at our southern border, and it's affecting every one of us. Now, I want to talk to you again about something else, okay? First off, remember when the chickens and the food warehouses went up in smoke? The distribution centers, including one Walmart distribution center in Indiana, that went up in smoke. We were keeping a run on tally. Something like 75 different buildings housing food went up in smoke. Well, guess what? I believe it's intentional, and some of you also believe. I believe it's intentional. Train derailments have been intentional. I'm convinced of it. Never in my life have I seen this many train derailments, and there's at least 2 to 3 train derailments every day. It's our own comrades that are doing this. It's an intentional accident. Okay? That's also got to come to a stop. I know people that live and breathe on trains that watch this program. I know that people that ride these trains and operate these trains watch this program. Folks, I'm asking you to get to the bottom of it. Your safety and ours depends on these trains getting to where they need to go without accident. Burlington Northern Santa Fe, CSX, other Southern Railway companies, including Burlington Northern Santa Fe, Union Pacific, Canadian National, and all the others up and down the entire country of the United States and Canada. These derailments need to stop. Your maintenance of way people need to be on duty 24/7 if necessary to stop this derailment of trains. People have been blaming them on the tracks not being aligned properly, the tracks not being in good condition. If so, the maintenance of way people need to be on duty to stop it from happening. And the people that are at the heads of the rail companies, you need to be disciplined until you can rein these in. I'm telling you, that has to happen. Now, there's something else that I want to talk to you about. And then I'm going back and talk about some trains. Okay? The next thing I want to talk about is the disruption of food. If some of you have not found out yet, there has been word that has gotten out to the institutions around this country. Institutions like hospitals, jails, prison, and other things, other institutions like that. That those agencies should have enough food on hand to get through at least a 10-day disruption of supply chains. A 10-day disruption of supply chains. Yes, this lead story came from Hal Turner Network, but I've also picked up on it from other sources. Okay? Now, let me give you a few other things to think about. Okay? Today, we have been explicitly warned to make sure that you have enough food to get through for at least a 10-day supply chain outage. These warnings are coming down from vendors and now from the government. It's not a suggestion anymore. It is a mandate. They've been told to do this and make sure it's done. Hospitals and institutions like prisons and jails, they have populations that simply cannot go anywhere else to find food. So having those places having the food is going to be essential if someone knows there's going to be definitely a misdirection or misdistribution of supply chain food. A major disruption. Now, on its face, there is nothing going on at the moment that might give rise to a hint of a supply chain disruption. Never mind specifically for 10 days, unless this other thing happens. For example, the NATO exercise in Europe from June 12th through June 24th near Ukraine. And if it goes hot, what's going to happen? And there's some type of massive exchange with Russia as reports continue to funnel out of that location around Russia, UKR, and Belarus, and other places such as Turkey. You need to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on. Now, I want to play for you a video that's about 11 minutes long about trains. Remember us reporting on about 8 or 10 days ago about a train load of ammonium nitrate that disappeared? Well, yeah, it surely disappeared. And we're going to find out more about it right now.
All right, guys, welcome back. Survival Living here. So, ammonium nitrate stolen, or was it? I'm telling you right now, be prepared for something major to happen. But let's go and talk about what did happen. So, for those that have been on this channel for a while, you already know I'm a former train rider. I used to ride freight trains for a year and a half. I also used to work as subcontract work for Bayline here in Bay County, Florida. I used to repair trains. Well, the rail cars, not the locomotives. I did everything from boxcars, grainers, hoppers, tankers. Anything that locomotive was pulling, I repaired. I changed brakes, I changed the axles, I repaired doors, I repaired everything on it because I'm a welder by trade and also a mechanic. So I do have a lot of experience when I'm speaking on this missing ammonium nitrate, 30 tons. Let's go ahead and talk about this, the transport, and how it could be done or how it could not be done. Okay, so 30 tons, 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate. When I was first contacted about this, and it's been over a week now, somebody had sent me an email and I've been flooded by emails. Do you want to speak on this? Well, yeah, I will. But I was just trying to get more information on this before speaking. When I first heard about it, I thought it was in a liquid form. I thought it was going to be in tanker systems. There's two ways of doing that by tanker systems, by rail car. One, called piggybacking. It's where you put semi-truck tankers on a flatbed, on a rail car. Or you have your tanker systems. Should be some photos there for you. And that's what I first thought it was. And then when I looked into it myself, it turns out it's ammonium nitrate granules. So that'd be a hopper system or a grainer car. Right? Both are practically the same. Same with a coal car as far as kind of, but coal cars empty out differently. And we'll talk about that as well. So with a coal car, coal gets dropped in from the top, it's not covered, and they have chutes in the bottom that it goes over a system and just gets dumped. Now for something like this granule, they're going to be using grainer system as far as like a hopper system with its own pipes. All right, so in the photo you'll see some triangular pieces in the bottom. You'll see a pipe coming out. Those are valves. Okay, now to empty this, well, let's talk about loading. Loading has to be loaded in from the top because they got they got decent sized manhole covers is what I call them. You can get in about shoulder to shoulder going inside these things. I've been in many of them. Or they have the flip latch. They're a long rectangular top. So there's two different styles there. The long rectangular tops, easy to load in. With these systems, they can leak. I repaired many of them, but that's how you load it. To unload, let me go and show you the photo of the unload process. You have to pull up to a yard. It has many hoppers in the yard using air and everything else, and also sometimes conveyors. Just depends on what the product line is, and the yards are set up for them. This isn't happening in a train yard, this is happening at a facility. A lot of work comes into removing the material from these rail cars. So with the somebody stole it, how? Now I'm going to talk about how, or how not. One, all locomotives have a tracking system. They know exactly where these things are at all times. You don't lose these things. They're hooked up to satellite. Yeah, they're tracked. So to stop and unload this is going to take some time. There'll be a record of that. There is no record of this thing stopping forever and unloading. And plus, like I showed in the photo, you have to have a facility to unload. Now, maybe they switched out the car, put an identical car with the identical numbers. When these cars are hooked up, they go into a computer bank and a list. I know this for a fact because one of the cheating ways as a train rider, I'd pull out a burner phone and I'd call in that rail car number to see where it was headed before, you know, if I didn't want to wind up in Montana and I wanted to go the other direction, I'd call in that number, see exactly where that car is headed. All this stuff's tracked. So to change out the car, they'd have to change out the whole thing. They'd have to stop the train, remove it from its location, hook up another one. If you ever spend any time in a rail yard, it's back and forth, break and air. It takes people to do this. All right. You also have to have switches. Now, could it be done at a siding? A siding is where there is a rail track going and there's a separate rail track peeled off to the side that usually you can pull in, break cars off, things like that. Yes, it is possible to do it that way. But then again, I go back to the locomotive tracking. It would show this going on. That didn't happen. I cannot find any records of this happening. Okay. Next is that they stopped the train, flew in a helicopter, broke air, disconnected, flew it out, and dropped in another one. Is it possible? Yes, I guess. Some Mission Impossible crazy stuff, maybe. I don't see that happening. I don't. As a train rider, my experience with rail cars, you get jarred and shook nonstop on these things. So, as one that has repaired these cars, and one has ridden these cars, it is very possible to leak out. Guys, as a prime example, got a salt shaker, granules, train rocking back and forth. Eventually, my wife's gonna kick my ass. Eventually, this is gonna run out. This is being scattered all over the train. Let me explain something to you. These freight trains are not slowly moving down. Some of them reach over 60 miles an hour. Yeah. So this thing's bouncing around all over ballast stone. It's going to go everywhere. Granules are really tiny. So over, what is it, 200-mile trip or something like that? It was a 2-week trip, so what they were planning on originally. That stuff could be anywhere. And it would be very difficult, especially if it rained. Now, the only way to actually trace any trace amount is if you start testing the ground for chemical stuff. And you'd have to have testing equipment. You know how long that'd take? So, with that being said, I just want to I'm going to show you guys that the likelihood that this was stolen is very, very low. The likelihood that it leaked and got shook all over the place, extremely high, and I speak from actual experience on this. Now, for the news that I'm seeing about, they keep on pushing main component, secondary component of explosive material. This is what got me worried about a false flag event. All right, this right here, the plausibility of this thing being shook out everywhere is more than it just come up missing. Okay, so what do they got planned? Why are they pushing this so much? Well, for a false flag event, you'd have to have something going on to have caused and made an explosive happen elsewhere. This didn't get stolen. It didn't get stolen. They shook out, but they're using this thing, in my opinion, as this, when something major happens. Well, it came from that. Remember, we couldn't find anything. Be prepared for a false flag event, but it's not because somebody went and stole this stuff. They know exactly what they're doing. They're just using that as an excuse. It came up empty. They may have intentionally made it faulty so it would leak out all over the place. Who knows? The reason I say that is because I've actually had people tell me that the government came in with an aircraft and pulled it out of the line and replaced it with another. Because, you know, they do that on the movies all the time. Whatever. So I just want to get my thoughts in on that with my experience. I was a freight train rider, and I also worked on these when I did subcontract work for Bayline here in Bay County, Florida. So I got experience that I'm telling you, these things leak. I've repaired them many times myself. It does happen. As a train rider, I saw stuff leaking all over the time. all the time, constantly being dumped out of grainers, out of tankers. I've seen tankers leaking like crazy too. So that actually does happen. But for this to get so much attention, it's because they want you to know that this stuff was missing. So when something happens, everybody points at that, and I guarantee you they're going to point at a domestic terrorist, usually some type of, it's going to be a conservative, pro-Constitution, Republican. That's what they're going to point at. Look at what they've done to us, these domestic MAGAs.
Okay, look what they've done to us, these domestic MAGAs. Okay, remember exactly what happened when Mr. T had his home raided in Florida? They blamed all of us. When things happened before that in Washington, D.C. in 2016, 2020, they blamed all of us. Oh, those explosive MAGAs. Yeah. Once it's happenstance, as Don said in the chat right now. Twice is a coincidence. 3 times, it's enemy action. That is a direct quote from a movie. Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming, guys. Yes, could have the train stopped and a helicopter picks up the loaded tanker car and replaces it with another one, drops it in, and the train continues to move on? Oh yeah. But again, these shipments are tracked. They're tracked by satellite systems. I know it because I've been in the the dispatch center in Salt Lake City. Huge rail yard there. And they actually dispatch trains from there from a train dispatch tower. So yes, I do have that experience as well. As well, I've been around trains all my life. Yes, my dad's father, before I was born, worked on trains in the rail yard in Pocatello, Idaho, where I used to live. My mother's father in San Diego, working for Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe, before it became Burlington Northern Santa Fe. And then I had the opportunity to meet Burlington Northern Santa Fe people. I've walked up and down rail lines, train tracks, picking up debris that the railway would call debris, broken railroad spikes, non-broken railroad spikes, spikes that came out of the ground and were replaced by new spikes. I had a small collection of them at one time, and I hope to have another collection at some point. But folks, it does happen. Train cars leak. I've seen it. Walking up and down rail lines and train tracks. I've seen things on the ballast, the rock in the train tracks. I've seen it. Those of you that have never really paid attention to train tracks, guys, let me tell you, there's a lot more going on than you think about. Okay? See all this rock? See all this rock alongside the railway and in the train track area? That's called ballast. That rock is called ballast. And if you ever walk the rail lines in your town or nearby where you live, you see all kinds of things. steel plates. And even the steel plates and the railroad steel pins that they put into the wood to secure the track to the piling wood. Okay? Those great big steel spikes, they have dates on them. Dates on them. But they have stuff that spilled out of cars and off of other kinds of cars as well. You can find that all over the track areas. Now, before I have people going all up and down the tracks looking for stuff, in most cases, it's a felony to walk in the track area for track safety, for railroad safety. I'm not telling you to go up and down the tracks looking for things, because yes, that's a dangerous thing to do. But if there's an abandoned railway line, I'm sure you can find things. But folks, on an active railway line, cars leak and they drop stuff. Anything from grain to ammonium nitrate pellets. Yes, guys, that does happen. But for an entire train load, an entire carload of ammonium nitrate pellets, it takes a lot more than just leaking, unless there's been a major event happen that is responsible for that stuff to leak. It's not likely. Look for something else to happen, a false flag. Okay? Linda Covington, remembering all the hardworking Chinese people who helped build and died building our railroads. Oh yeah, there's a complete history of it. When the East Side Railways in the 1800s linked up with the Pacific Coast rail lines, they met in a place called Promontory, Utah. Yes, when the tracks were laid, they used Chinese laborers to put the tracks in. They did. And they finally linked the East with the West in Promontory, Utah. I've been there. They have a ceremony every summer to commemorate that happening. It's incredible. But yes, folks, down inside those rock ballast track areas and alongside, you can find all sorts of cool things if you're a railroad junkie like me. Okay, but this happens. Richard Smith says 1800s was the derailment of grain was drunk bears. That doesn't surprise me. Okay. Sandra Chapman in the chat. They're planning to take out the power grid and blame conservatives. Folks, that's exactly what happened when our power grid got attacked here, just not more than 45 miles from where I live. A bunch of dirtbags attacked the power grid and shot up a power station just about 45 miles from me in Moore, North Carolina. They blamed me. They blamed all of us that have anything to do with the conservative political movement. That was the first thing the FBI thought. Not the police. That was not the first thing the police thought about. But that also entered into the investigation. And they never caught those people. They caught people that shot up Washington State power stations. They did catch some of those people there. But it happens all the time. So things are going to happen. I promise you things are going to happen. That's why we're talking about it. I just want to make sure everybody is up to speed about it. I am thankful that one of my dear friends, Heather, that's one of our mods, she's back. She had some medical issues that she had to get taken care of, and I do hope she gets rest. Kimberly Hopkins is in our chat now, saying blessings to you, Heather. Get some rest. I also say the same thing. Heather, please get some rest. Okay? It's very important. We want you back, and we want you healthy. Healthy to help your family, and healthy to help us. But this is very important, what we talked about. That's why I brought it to your attention tonight. I think it's very, very important. Okay? Very important for all of us. Let's pay attention to what's going on around us. Okay? Now there's something else that's going on. Okay? Before I get into that, I want to talk about something else. That issue is that huge storm that hit over in Guam, Typhoon Mawar. It's now been dubbed Typhoon Betty. Typhoon Betty. It's gone down into the Philippines now. It's been battering the Philippines for several days now. The winds are about 145 knots per hour, which is about 140 miles per hour. Still a Cat 4 storm. Typhoon or Cyclone Betty began to move north and away from Luzon yesterday afternoon. But due to its slow pace, it could leave the Philippine Area of Responsibility, called the PAR, only after about 2 days. As of yesterday at 4 p.m., Betty was still 315 kilometers east of Basco Batanes. Okay? That's according to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services, PAGASA, P-A-G-A-S-A. The typhoon or cyclone is projected to maintain its northward movement until today. Then it will speed up as it turns northeast today and tomorrow, and continues to move northeast on Friday. Its exit from the Philippine Area of Responsibility could happen late today or early Friday. So far, Betty has a maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour, gusts of up to 185 miles per hour. That's Category 5. The typhoon did not make landfall in the Philippines, but remember us talking about the outside winds, okay? The outer perimeter winds of the typhoon battered the Philippines, just as it battered Guam, okay? Those outside winds continue to throw tornadoes and thunderstorms. Betty is persisting for just one more day over in the Philippine area. Now, floods and landslides still remain possible in the Philippines. Guam still had some floods as of Monday. Still had flooding as of Monday. Okay? Tuesday afternoon, May 30th, through today, May 31st. The storm is about 900 millibars strong, meaning a very tight-eyed storm. A very tight-eyed storm. The southwest monsoon, or what the Philippines called habagat, still being enhanced by Betty, will continue to affect southern Luzon Island in the Philippines and Visayas. And I probably butchered that name. Visayas. Visayas, I think. I don't know. It's also going to affect Mindanao Island, Philippines, on the northern side of Mindanao Island, Philippines. Rain showers and thunderstorms, due to the enhanced southwest monsoon, are mostly concentrated in Mineropa, western Visayas, and Zamboanga in the peninsula. Elsewhere, there may be only isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Because like I said, it's the outside wind bands that are throwing off those thunderstorms and possible tornadoes. Pagasa also downgraded tropical cyclone wind signals for a few parts of northern Luzon Island, Philippines. Okay? So that's a story on that. Now, folks, I want to talk about something else that's near and dear to all of our hearts. We have talked about earthquakes. I'm just going to give you a runner's rundown of earthquakes that happened today. Over north and west of India, and in western, southwestern China, there's an area that also belongs to Russia, or once belonged to Russia. Turkmenistan. A 5.1 large earthquake hit there today. A large 5.0 earthquake hit in the South Sandwich Islands. 4.9, 5.0 earthquake in the South Sandwich Islands. Unoccupied islands. Okay? Over in Fiji, a 4.5 magnitude earthquake hit in South Fiji. A very deep earthquake. 558 kilometers deep. 558 kilometers deep. That earthquake could spawn a very much larger earthquake, to the tune of a 5.8 magnitude earthquake as a result of that 4.5 in the southern Fiji area. Also another 4.5 hit there, 643 kilometers deep. Huge. Huge. That could spawn upwards of a 6.0. A 4.2 also hit. It hit 337 kilometers south of the Kermadec Islands, closer to New Zealand. Well, I'm talking about New Zealand. New Zealand got beat up by small 3.0 to 3.9 magnitude earthquakes today, as well as 2.5, 2.7 magnitude earthquakes. The southern and the north island of New Zealand got beat up today. Over in Mexico, there's a 4.0 over in Guerrero, Mexico. Oaxaca, Mexico had a 4.0 as well. A 3.6 off the coast of Ecuador. A 3.0 in Nicaragua. A 4.3 over in Greenland. Greenland got hit, guys. They don't get hit very often. A 3.6 hit east of there in Svalbard. That's pretty far north. Svalbard doesn't get hit every day. Today they got hit with a 3.6. Over in the greater Los Angeles area that we talked about last night, They got hit with 2.2, a 2.0, also a 3.0, a 2.6. Yes, guys, a 2.6, a 2.0 in Southern California. Going back down to southwestern Pacific, Myanmar got hit with a 5.8 and a 3.5 aftershock. The Galapagos Islands that are just off the coast of Colombia were hit by a 5.0 earthquake. It was in the water, but still a 5.0 earthquake. The ocean water probably absorbed the majority of the seismic waves there. Now, over in Indonesia, another large 4.9, 5.0 hit in the Santa Cruz Islands. A 4.1 south of Java, and even a 4.5 over off the southern coast of Sumatra. A 2.0 also hit in West Texas, in the oil fields of West Texas. A very large 5.5 hit off the east coast of Kamchatka Peninsula. A 3.1 hit in West Texas, in the oil fields. A 2.7 hit up in Northern California. Another 4.1 hit in Michoacan, Mexico. Another 2.1 in Southern California. A 4.4 and a 4.2 just off the east coast of Honshu, Japan. The next earthquake I want to show you. Okay? This next earthquake I want to show you. This is just off the coast of Petrolia, California. Just west off the coast of Petrolia, California. Now let's zoom in and take a closer look of exactly what we have here. Okay? Look where it's at. It's just west. It's on the Gorda Escarpment. That earthquake fault that runs west of Petrolia, California out into the Pacific Ocean here, that's the Gorda Escarpment. This 4.0 today hit on the Gorda Escarpment west of the Cascadia subduction zone. West of the Cascadia subduction zone. It also hit west of the San Andreas Fault. That area there is called the Triple Junction, where the San Andreas meets up with the Cascadia subduction zone and the Gorda Escarpment, the Triple Junction area. This is very close to that area, and that might result in other good-sized earthquakes hitting Northern California in the coming days, or even later today. It's right there. It's just off the coast. Now, this has not necessarily happened before. Only a handful of cases where a large earthquake can spawn another earthquake. Sometimes it does happen. This was not a deep earthquake. This was a shallow earthquake. But this is just another heads up for the people that live over here in Northern California, the people who live in Oregon and Washington. The Cascadia subduction zone is alive and well. And I spoke to somebody today significantly about this. They're very concerned that a large earthquake is going to hit the Cascadia subduction zone, and I agreed. That is going to happen. I promise you it will happen. We just don't know when. I don't think it's going to be in the next few months or even in the next year or two, but it's going to happen. Again, we are looking for two, count them two, 4.5 to 5.0 or larger earthquakes to happen in the Cascade Mountain region. That means on land, in the Cascade Mountain region. Those two earthquakes will happen not simultaneously, but in very close proximity to each one, time-wise. Probably days or even not more than a week apart. But two 4.5 to 5.0 or larger earthquakes in the Cascade Mountain range, not offshore. This earthquake does not count. Now, when we're talking about those kind of earthquakes, what do you need to know? What do you need to know? Those two earthquakes need to happen, or a volcanic eruption of one of the volcanoes in the Cascade Mountain range. Either one or all or both of those events happening, an earthquake and a volcanic eruption. Okay? We're looking for that. It has not happened yet. The most that's happened have been two different 4.5 earthquakes that have happened months apart, not related to each other. That still can happen. If anybody's looking for a Cascadian megathrust earthquake, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It's not going to happen anytime soon. It could, but it's not likely. Okay? Okay? I think somebody just asked me a question. I've got to look for that. Don Patoka says, what is made clear by the constant USBS quake downgrading, portraying it as the new normal? Nothing to see here. Move along. Don Patoka says, Roos. Don Patoka's right. Okay. Richard Smith is reporting a 5.3 magnitude earthquake, a large earthquake, down in the Papua New Guinea region. Doesn't surprise me. Again, why do you think the earthquakes are happening in New Zealand, over in Papua New Guinea and Indonesia? Why do you think that's happening? It's because, guys, that is one of the largest earthquake subduction zones in the world. 7 different earthquake faults, 7 different earthquake plates moving, tectonic plates moving, one subducting under the other. That's why all of those earthquakes happen in Indonesia and down in the southern Pacific period. That happens. It's going to continue to happen. A while back, I had one person that lived in Indonesia write me, sent me a note asking me why Indonesia was getting hit. And at that time, Indonesia was getting hit all of the time. It still is. Only the USGS denies it's happening because they don't post the earthquakes. I told you about some of those earthquakes tonight. Another one just hit. 7 different plates are moving, subducting under each one of them. one subducting under the other. That's why those earthquakes are happening. It's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen for a very, very long time. All kinds of earth changes are occurring. That's what is going on. And we just need to be aware of it. We need to be aware of it. And to those people in Indonesia, I urge all of you to get prepared. Everyone needs to be prepared. It doesn't matter whether you're in Indonesia or Japan or Southern America or Central America, Canada, the United States, Britain, Europe, wherever you're at. You need to be prepared. As we saw earlier this year, we had probably what I believe to be at least an 8.0 to 9.0 earthquake hit in Turkey, devastating the area, and hundreds of earthquakes happen every day over there in Turkey. And yet USGS doesn't even say a word about it. They say sometimes, oh, we only have 209 earthquakes worldwide. BS. There's more like 1,000. For a long time, I tracked it on a daily basis. 1,000 earthquakes a day. Earthquake Tracker used to keep track of it. Upwards of 1,400 earthquakes a day. I saw it. Guys, it's happening all over the place. Michael McKinney saying good night. Michael McKinney, thank you for being here. Yes, I know it's late. Here on the East Coast, it's 9:05, 9:06 p.m. And I know I came on late. But folks, I have some more information for you, if you will allow me. Okay? Kimberly Hopkins is talking about someone saying last time he was home, I gave him some emergency supplies just in case. That's a good thing. Okay? It's not just going to be earthquakes, it's also going to be volcanic activity. Volcanic activity. A long time ago, a friend of my family's talked to me. And he was a very old man when I spoke to him when I was like 16. And he told me that I would be alive to see these earth changes. Earthquakes and volcanoes erupting. All kinds of natural things happening in the earth. And that's exactly what is going on. And now I get to tell all of you about it. Okay? Carol West is in the chat, says, hello Ron, thank you for your help. No one cares more than you do. I don't know about that, but yes, I do care. I absolutely do care, or I wouldn't be here. I talked to another friend of ours last night on chat, on Messenger. A very long night chat. And she about said the same thing. She and I have been following earthquakes and volcanoes for a very, very long time. And we agree on almost everything. Almost everything. Things are happening. All I am asking is for everybody to realize that. And as you watch my program, I will give you updates as to what's going on. But I'm telling you, what is going on is the earth is changing. Things are happening for a reason. And I keep trying to tell you about that. And I'm not going to stop. Because I feel it's absolutely a necessity for people to have this information in order to survive what is about to happen. And it's not going to be a good thing. There are 94 people that have given us thumbs up so far tonight. I thank you for that. Before you leave tonight, please give us a thumbs up. Please also stay here for the remainder of the program because I'm about to give you some more pertinent information that you all need to have, because some other things happened today that you all probably should know about. So please stick around. Please tell your friends and your neighbors, your family and your extended family. Please tell the people that you socialize on social media and the people you work with. Share this program for them. They also need this information. It could save their lives as well. Folks, I have spent about 10 hours today preparing for this program. It takes a lot. Someone else in our chat, in our messenger chat, said that their house jolted and swayed side to side over in the Ridgecrest area. At the time, it was twice in a 10-minute period near Ridgecrest. No, there's not been a 5.0 earthquake. However, there was upwards of a 3.5 earthquake that the agency did not put on the map, nor are they talking about it. Okay? Nor have they talked about it. But a 3.5 can make you think that things are coming apart. Swaying, for example, you're going to feel a 3.5 move you side to side. You're going to feel uneasy. Uneasy. I was in Amarillo, Texas for a layover coming here over 2 years ago. I felt the floor move. I leaned up against a desk in my hotel room. It moved. I know for a fact that the entire earth is moving. I was in California. I've been through earthquakes in California. I've felt earthquakes in Little Rock, Arkansas, back in 2011. I've been there. I've done that. I know it happens. But unless you're paying attention, you're not even going to realize it. And then what happens? A major quake hits, and you're not going to be aware of it until it's too late. It might start as something very small, and then it gets larger and larger and larger until you get knocked off your feet and things start falling from the ceiling and falling off the walls. Then it's too late, because you may not have been prepared for it, because everything is coming apart right in front of you, because nobody prepared you for it. That's why we're here. That is exactly why we are here. To prepare you for the day that a much larger event happens. And happen, it will. I promise you that. Your day is going to come when the whole world comes to pieces. Kimberly Hopkins is in the chat saying, living in the East Bay area in California as a kid, I was laying on the floor and it rolled underneath me. That was crazy. Just wait. That area is going to rock and roll again, just like it did in 1989. Just like it did in Northridge in 1994. that whole area is going to come apart. Now, I want to tell you one more thing. We're going over right now to talk about the new Madrid fall. I'm not going to blow any wind up your skirts and tell you that nothing is happening, because that would be a lie. I am going to talk about the northern part of the new Madrid first, because today Fairfield, Illinois was hit. Look at this. No, Fairfield, Illinois was not hit with a 5. It was not hit with a 4 or even a 3.0. These folks are mostly tremors. I also believe they may have had at least one 2.0 earthquake today in Evansville, Indiana. This was this morning. The first part of the morning was fairly quiet, hit and miss. One just after 12:15 this morning on that red line at the top. Then another after 1 o'clock, about 1:02 a.m. this morning. Another one at 2:01 a.m. this morning. Then another one just about 2:41 a.m. this morning. And then it continued. After 4:35 a.m. this morning, we had another 1.8 tremor. Then right after that, a 1.2, 1.3. Then from there on, all heck broke loose. About every few minutes, a tremor hit. Look at all these tremors hit. It continued, guys. Up until 4 a.m. this morning, we had a bunch of microquakes and tiny tremors. Then after 5 o'clock this morning, every few minutes a tremor hit, and you can see it here. And then the tremors got to be the point, or to the point, where it was constant. 1.2, 1.3 tremors happening constantly and upgrading itself every once in a while. Okay? Going from 1.2, 1.3 on up to a 1.5, 1.9, even then up to a 2.0 magnitude earthquake. That was this morning. Let's look at Fairfield, Illinois this afternoon. This is what it looked like this afternoon. And look at the top up here. This is at 12 noon at the top line here in the black. At about 12:04 p.m. this afternoon, we had probably a 2.5 magnitude earthquake. And it may have been 2 back to back, because there are multiple lines there. Multiple P waves. Then the secondary wave took over, and that lasted about 30 seconds. Then the body wave continued. You see the body wave continue down until we have just a few larger tremors here. 1.3, 1.4, up to about 1.5. And you can see the tremors bouncing all over here. Up until I pulled the seismogram here. That was about 6 p.m. when I pulled this last seismogram in Illinois. There was so much going on. That was in Illinois. Would you like to see Indiana? I want to show you Evansville first. This is Evansville this morning. First it was microquakes. Then the microquakes increased to just minor, very tiny tremors. And then it was again off and on at that. But it was consistent tremors. Then sometime after 5 a.m. this morning, the tremors increased to consistent tremors lasting not just a minute or two or four. Look at this, guys. Again, the tremors continued, and they're still continuing. Look at that. Consistent tremors all afternoon there. Now I'm going over to New Harmony, Indiana. I want to show you this. New Harmony, Indiana, folks, and these are just not tremors. I see 2.0 earthquakes. I see 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes. Down here this afternoon, just about 4:48, 4:49 p.m. this afternoon on this green line. You see at least two magnitude 3.0s at the beginning there. Maybe even three back to back. Then about 20 seconds later, another one. And not just one, two or three back to back. On the black lines before that, the black line at 1600 hours, which is 4 o'clock p.m. this afternoon. At about 4:03, that's a 2.5 magnitude earthquake on the black line there. And then tremors after that. We continue down to 5 p.m. and over to the right at about 5:12, 5:13, 5:14 p.m. this afternoon. 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes. Actually, I'm sorry, that was at 4 o'clock. I'm sorry, my bad. Then at 4:30 on the blue line. Look at those earthquakes. These earthquakes appear to be 3.0 on the blue line. And there's multiple quakes there. The first one is multiple quakes back to back, and then another minute goes by with nothing but tremors, and then it opens up again. Probably 4 3.0s back to back. Then a few seconds goes by, and again 2 or 3 more 3.0 earthquakes get hit. Incredible, huh? Totally incredible. Then at 4:48, we have 2 more 3.0 earthquakes, maybe 4 in a row. Then 20 seconds goes by and we get hit another 4 3.0s back to back. That's in New Harmony, Indiana. The morning didn't look like this. The morning was very quiet. But this afternoon buffaloed everybody. A lot of these quakes were felt. The 2s, no. The 3s, definitely. When you have back-to-back quakes like that, you're going to feel something. That's in Indiana. The northern part of the New Madrid Fault gave way here. Not in a huge way, but there's a warning here built in here. These are just small earthquakes. The larger ones are coming. Believe me, The larger earthquakes are coming, and most people are not going to like it. So I've shown you Illinois and Indiana. Let me show you something else. Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Look at this. Literally quiet all morning long. Microquakes for the most part. Then all of a sudden, what happens? What do you think happened here? Just before 9 a.m., we had a tiny tremor, 1.2, 1.3 tremor. Before that, it was nothing but microquakes, and it still was microquakes for some time here this morning. Then larger tremors started building in here, didn't they? You can see it here. Guess what happened at Catfish Pond this afternoon? Look at this. A tremor again at about 12:11 p.m. this afternoon on the top black line. Small tiny tremor building into a 1.5 tremor. A long-lasting tremor, lasting a full minute. Then the tremors nodded off, got smaller. And they stayed small. They stayed small until 2:15 p.m. Then about 2:05 p.m. we had a bunch of tremors start. The tremors got larger, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. Those lasted for several minutes, and then all of a sudden we had a good-sized earthquake. And notice here that the agency cut off the top and cut off the bottom of the seismic signature here. This was probably a 3.5, 4.0 earthquake in Catfish, Arkansas today. This was at least a 3.5, which is a small quake, up to a 4.0. Okay? They cut it off. This quake, guys, lasted 4 full minutes. 4 full minutes. That's an awful lot of shaking. This is the center of the new Madrid fault, by the way, guys. And they cut off the top of these quake signatures. Then this afternoon, all of a sudden, all we had was minor tremors after that. No aftershocks. Literally, no aftershocks. Now the secondary wave, that's a different story. That secondary wave lasted a full 3 minutes. We had 4 minutes of primary waves. 4 minutes of primary waves happening. Then we had 3 minutes of secondary shock wave. Just tremors. 1.6, 1.7 tremors lasting for 3 full minutes. And then it finally died down and went into a body wave after that. But look what happened, guys. I want to show you what happened, because this is what's going to happen over in the Pacific Northwest, but on a larger scale. On a larger scale. It's also going to happen here on the New Madrid Fault. Probably 5 full minutes of shaking with a 7.1 to 8.0 earthquake. You're already seeing examples of it here. That's why I'm showing you this. Okay? I want to go over and show you the Ozark Folk Center in northern Arkansas. Look at this, guys. For the most part, it was very quiet until the end of this morning. Nothing happened until 11:15. 11:17 actually. The first 2.0 earthquake happened at 11:17 this morning. Then it popped up to at least a 2.5, 2.8 earthquake. And that lasted about 45 seconds. Look at all the shaking. And this was just minor earthquakes. 2.7, maybe even a 2.8 earthquake. Back to back, back to back, back to back. The shaking didn't stop. 45 seconds of shaking. Then, as we moved to the right, guess what happened? 3, 4, 5, 6.5 minutes later. Another shock wave, the same kind of earthquake. Probably 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. And that lasted for about 4 or 5 seconds. Then it dies off very quickly. And a minute later, it picks back up. 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes. Back to back to back. Then it dies off to probably a 1.7 tremor, and it quickly picks up again to a 2.7, 2.8 minor earthquake again. But this time, it lasts for about 10 or 15 seconds and dies off to a secondary quake. Secondary tremors after that. That was the Ozark Folk Center in northern Arkansas today. Wowee. Guess what? This afternoon wasn't as bad until, and I'm going to say until, 5:28 p.m. this afternoon. It picked up again. 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Kimberly Hopkins just gave us another $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Kim. God bless you for that. We really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. But folks, these earthquakes didn't stop. First, there were 3 P waves, 2.7, 2.8. Then it dies down for about 10 seconds and it picks up again. You can see what happened. That was at the Ozark Folk Center in Arkansas. Again, the center of the New Madrid Fault. Now, let's go up to Marktree, Arkansas for a few minutes. Look at this. This was this morning. Starts off with 1.0 tremor. That's it. Then it gets less than that. It goes down to just these small, minor microquakes. Then it picks back up again. It goes to tremors. Larger tremors. 1.7, 1.8, 1.9 tremors. That was this morning after 2 a.m., 2:45 a.m. Then again after 4 a.m. in the center there. Look what happens at 6:15 a.m. And it happened actually starting before that at about 6:12 or 12 a.m. That lasted for 3 minutes of tremors. Then it picked up to be minor earthquakes, 2.3, 2.4, up to 2.5 magnitude minor earthquakes there after 5:15. And those quakes lasted for 2.5 minutes, off and on for 2.5 minutes. I appreciate that, thank you. Look at these quakes, guys. These quakes here. This happens all the time, every day. Every day. Let's go down to 8:30 a.m. this morning. 8:30 a.m. this morning. And prior to that, actually. Let's go over to 8:28 a.m. this morning. Starts off with very minor tremors. It builds up to 2.0 earthquake in the red over here on the right. Then it continues over on the left in the blue. Okay? 8:30 a.m. this morning, these turn into a bigger earthquake. Okay? 2.8, 2.9, 2.8, 2.9. And then I believe it may have even reached a 3.0. At least a 2.9, 3.0 before it was finished. Almost 3 full minutes. Actually, it was over 3 full minutes of shaking going on between minor earthquake building up to that 2.9, 3.0 earthquake that it ended up with there. Then after that, it died down to tremors the rest of the morning at Mark Tree, Arkansas. But guess what, guys? It didn't stop this afternoon. Look what happened. Look at this. Over here on the right in the blue area. Okay? This is about 12:43 p.m. this afternoon. We can't see the bottom, but we can see the top at the beginning there, because the color of the events that happened later covered up this blue lines that came down from this quake. I believe this quake was also a 3.0 earthquake. We can't see all the top of it. The top of it's cut off by the paper. The bottom is cut off by color beneath it. This was probably 3.0 earthquakes. We have a lot of tremors and earthquakes after that as well. This is the center of the New Madrid fault. Okay? That's Arkansas. Folks, I'm telling you, it's continuing. Truman, Arkansas. Look at this, guys. In this case, on this seismogram here in Truman, the most we had over here on the right-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock this morning. And it actually started about at 4:46 a.m. this morning. Tremors building up to 2.0 earthquakes. And after that, over on the right-hand side, all of a sudden we had a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. Minor earthquake activity, but earthquake activity. Most 2.5s, 2.7s cannot be felt. You're only going to feel them when they're 3.4 or 3.3, 3.4, 3.5 quakes. Then you're going to feel them. 2-pointers you're probably not going to feel. Look at all these other quakes here. Tremors all over here. Truman, Arkansas this morning. Guess what, guys? It got really heavy this afternoon. Look at that. I believe we even had a 3.0 at 2, I'm going to say 2:43 p.m. this afternoon. A 3.0 earthquake there. The rest of this is tremors and minor quakes. Okay? It didn't stop this morning in Truman, and it picked up this afternoon. Tyronza, Arkansas this morning. Again, this is south of Marktree and south of Truman. Look at this. Microquakes at the beginning of the morning again. And every once in a while you'd see a 1.1, 1.2 tremor, and that's it. And then the 2.0 earthquakes started happening. Minor earthquake activity and tremor activity. But it happened all morning long. All morning long in Tyronza, Arkansas. And it continued this afternoon. Look at that. Okay? 2.0, 2.5 magnitude earthquakes happening all day long. Off and on all day long after 4 a.m. this morning. Imagine this could be 3.0, 4.0 earthquakes. That would drive you crazy. Happening all the time. All the time. Animals and humans in disaster. You are here, Kimberly. I too am on disability. This is the chat, guys. These two women are in the chat. I'm working for the whole state of Arizona. You make a difference too. Folks, all of us make a difference. You guys sometimes work as hard as I do, making sure you have information to save people's lives. I appreciate and love each and every one of you. Linda Covington, by the way, sent me some more support on Venmo. Thank you, Linda. God bless you for that. I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. All of you are awesome. Now, folks, there's more earthquakes, more tremors all over the place. Now, I showed you New Harmony, Indiana. I've shown you Arizona, I've shown you Arkansas. I want to show you something else. I want to take you down to Missouri, over to Homersville, Missouri. Look at this. Nothing happened until later this morning. Okay? Just after 7:30 this morning, going out here to about 7:45 a.m. this morning. Prior to that, all we have is microquakes and occasional 1.0 tremor. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the tremors pick up and become 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. These earthquakes lasted for 45 seconds. Came out of nowhere. and lasted for 45 seconds. That's insane. That's insane. This afternoon, look what happened. Very minor nothing. Then all of a sudden the same kind of thing happened. Just after 3:34 p.m. this afternoon. Again, it came out of nowhere. Start off with a tremor, became a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, then it got up to 3.0. 3.0 activity, and this lasted for 45 seconds. The first of it lasted for about 20 seconds. Then it went down to minor tremors again and back up to 3.0 again. Unreal. Then it calmed down to tremors again and microquakes by the end of this afternoon. How would you like to live in Homersville and be hit with the 3.0 earthquake? Out of nowhere. Everything's going along fine. You're walking around your house or walking around your office or working in your office today. Then all of a sudden you feel some shaking going on. And it lasts for about, off and on for about 30 seconds. How would you like to be in that situation? That's crazy. All of a sudden you feel your floor moving. Your chair is moving underneath you, and you wonder why. Sorry, I just squeezed a water bottle to take up a little less room in the trash. I'm sorry. I don't usually do that on the air. Cramelots just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. God bless you for that. We really appreciate it. We really, really do appreciate that. But how'd you like to be there today in Homersville? Where out of nowhere, all of a sudden you get feeling this movement. That's what happened. Insanity today. Okay? You're wondering what happened. Nobody reported an earthquake, but they had them. They certainly had them today. And more. And more. I want to show you Barker Cemetery. Barker Cemetery, Missouri. This is at the center of the New Madrid Fault. Barker Cemetery was picking up in earthquakes, good-sized earthquakes. Now, all we get here is tremors and minor earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes. Holy crud, Chrissy. Chrissy S. just gave us a $100 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Chrissy. We really, really appreciate that. God bless you for that. That will help us keep our internet, our super duper bandwidth here. God bless you, Chrissy. We appreciate that. That means so much. You don't even know. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Chrissy, thank you so much. Wow. I haven't had too many of those over the years. That sure means a lot. Yes, it takes money to put these shows on. Bandwidth, internet bandwidth, that's a big one. And then paying for the applications to pull information. Fortunately, I have some fairly good reputations going on with other agencies. Not necessarily USBS, but other agencies to feed information to me. And I really appreciate it. Gosh, you guys have left tears in my eyes. That's wonderful. Thanks, Chrissy. Oh my gosh. Carol West says, the moment the shaking begins, I'm already up and ready. Experiences it more than a few times, especially in Big Bear, California. Yes, Big Bear gets hit all the time. Again, we have a volcano over there in Big Bear. Not too many know it, but there's a volcano over there. A volcano that doesn't exhibit volcanic strength very often. But when it does, look out. But here we're getting earthquakes here. Not very often, but most of this is just tremors. But we do have 2 minor earthquakes here as well at Barker Cemetery. We've been having bigger earthquakes here in Barker up until now. It's been increasing in seismicity here. It's been increasing here. But that in Barker blew my mind today. It's gone down during the past 2 weeks. It's gone down. It didn't used to do that. This afternoon was the same thing. Okay? Tremors, except for 2 times. 2 times. One just after 12:48 p.m. this afternoon. A 2.7, 2.8 minor earthquake hit. Then just a few minutes later, a 2.6 magnitude earthquake hit. Then we had some tremors again. Then, after I want to say this is 2:40 p.m. this afternoon, we have another 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. Okay? Barker Cemetery. We've had large earthquakes here. Then, after 4 p.m. this afternoon, 4:03 and some seconds, about 4:03:30. Again, we had a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake, and then about 20 seconds later, another one, like back to back. Then immediately it dissipated into minor tremors immediately. Then we had another tremor, 1.5, 1.6 tremor. Okay, 5 o'clock. Woohoo! Actually, it wasn't 5 o'clock. It was about 5:08 p.m. this afternoon. Then, after 5:48 p.m., all of a sudden we got another 3.0 earthquake. Then it died down fairly quickly, and then a 2.7 earthquake happened after that. Isn't that unreal? What seems to be dying down all of a sudden picked up before the end of the afternoon today at Barker Cemetery. Okay? Unreal, guys. Unreal. I'm going to show you some things in just a minute. It may blow your mind. How about St. John's Bayou? Look at this. Okay? Look at this. Nothing happened. Microquakes all morning long. Microquakes all morning long. Until about 7:08, 7:09 a.m. this morning. All of a sudden, we have a minor tremor turning into a minor earthquake, dying down for about 30 seconds, and then it kicks up. It kicks up into a 3.0, 3.2 small earthquake. And that lasts for 30 seconds. You see P waves here for 30 seconds. P waves for 30 seconds. Then it doesn't stop. At about 7:43 a.m. again, 2.9, 3.0 earthquake in the blue over on the right. And we have several other 2.8 magnitude earthquakes. Several of them. More than just one or two. Quite a few of them. Okay? One of them may have turned into a 3.0 earthquake too. But look at that. St. John's Bayou this morning. Well, folks, guess what? It did not stop this morning. It continued on this afternoon. Look at that. We had a lot of tremors. Then about 12:13 this morning, it kicked in again. A 3.0 earthquake. This lasted about 30 seconds. It died down right away to just minor microquakes. Maybe a minor tremor, then a microquake. And that lasted for another couple minutes. Then we had a bunch of minor tremors again. That lasted for quite some time. Then we had maybe a 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. About 12:20 this morning, or this afternoon, 12:20 this afternoon. And it continues. It goes down to minor tremors again, and then into a just barely there 1.0 tremor, a body wave. Then a couple, 3 minutes, it picks up again and goes right back into a 3.0 earthquake. Look at that. Then we drop down to about 2:56, 2:57 this afternoon. Again, we have a 3.0 earthquake. Then after 3:15 this afternoon, going out to about 3:22 this afternoon, we had another 2.9, 3.0 earthquake. Probably just a 2.9. Missouri's rocking and rolling, isn't it? This is the center of the New Madrid Fault. Now it's interesting to note, the last week we've seen USGS put up 2.7 at New Madrid, Missouri. Yes, a 2.7 in New Madrid, Missouri. Really? Yes, that happened. We've also seen it at St. Louis, Missouri. But I checked today. Nothing. Not even microquake activity unless they turn the seismograph off. Nothing. Nothing. Crazy. That's insane, because we know darn well the earth is shaking out there. Wardell, Missouri. Look what happened here at Wardell, Missouri. Microquakes literally all morning long until later in the morning. Then we have one 2.6, 2.7 earthquake. We had a minor tremor, and then about, let me see, what time was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was 7:34 this morning. a 2.6, maybe 2.7 earthquake. That calms down to microquakes and minor tremors again. Then we come down to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 8 a.m. this morning. Okay? Just minor microquake activity. Just tiny. Then we have 1.2 tremors at 8:15. And that goes out to just before, or just after 8:29 a.m. this morning. All of a sudden we have a 3.0 earthquake again. Unreal. Then we go down to microquakes and minor tremors until 10:31 a.m. this morning. That's when 2.8, 2.9, 3.0 earthquakes start happening. Every 30 seconds to a minute. Every 30 seconds to a minute for about 10 minutes. 8 to 10 minutes. Then it turns down to minor tremors again. How would you like to have these 3.0 earthquakes hit you at 10:30 a.m. when you're in the office, or you're getting your your kids are off already to school, maybe you're cleaning house and you feel the ground move just slightly under you? That would be unnerving. That's what people here in Missouri felt. Wardell, Missouri felt here this morning. Look what happened this afternoon. Not much, just minor tremors and microquake activity until after 3 p.m. this afternoon. Then we had some tremor activity. Then 4 p.m. hits. Suddenly we have a bunch of tremors, off and on for about 15 minutes. Then, at 3:15, these tremors soon turn into 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes. And then 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes 2 minutes later. And then another about 3 minutes later after that. And then, after 5 p.m. this afternoon, at 5:06 p.m. this afternoon, 3.0 earthquake hit. Okay? Look at that earthquake there. Spread out over about 30 seconds. One earthquake after another. The shaking lasted for a long time. This is Missouri, guys, the center of the fault. Let's go down to Louisiana, southern Louisiana. I want to show you what happened at Pioneer, Louisiana today. Look at this. For the most part, all morning long until about 8 a.m. this morning, 7 a.m. this morning. Just microquakes tops and an occasional 1.0 tremor. Then it built up to 1.2, maybe 1.3 tremors. Then they turned the darn seismograph off. Then they turn it off for a second and turn it right back off. Multiple times. Multiple times. I see 8 times they turn the seismograph off and on, and then off again. They turn it off again until 10:30 a.m. this morning. Why? what happened that they turned the seismograph off for several hours? What happened during that time? When they turn it on, all we see are minor microquakes happening. Then after 11 a.m. this morning, we get to see minor tremors again. All that hour from 11 to just noon, all we have are minor tremors here. 1.2, 1.3 tremors here at Pioneer, Louisiana. What happened there, guys? What do you think happened? How about this afternoon in Pioneer, Louisiana? All of a sudden it went from 1.2, 1.3 tremors to consistent 1.3, maybe even 1.4 tremors, lasting literally all afternoon long. From nothing happening and the seismograph being shut down, coming back at 11 a.m. this morning, and then having all of this here. Yes, this is just minor tremors, guys. But what happened for the 3 hours where the thing was turned off? Okay? That is a significant increase in shaking happening. Going from microquakes to 1.3, maybe even 1.4 tremors the rest of the day. That's a big deal. But let's go over and look at DeRidder, Louisiana this morning. Because this afternoon, DeRidder was locked down. They shut off the seismograph all afternoon in DeRidder, Louisiana. All we have here again is nothing but microquake activity. Then they turned the thing off for 45 minutes. A little over 45 minutes. They turned it back on. We had some microquake activity working into 1.0 tremors again. And that lasted until they turned it off again. 3 hours later, they turn it back on, and all we have is minor tremor activity. 1.1, 1.2 tremors, and getting up to maybe 1.3 tremors every once in a while. This shows you activity on the southern part of the New Madrid fault, guys. It's all moving. It's all moving. Now, I also told you something else. Why do you think the New Madrid is moving? Number one, we've shown you earthquakes over on the West Coast. Why is that happening? Why do you think that's happening over there on the West Coast? What do you think is going on? Let me take this down really quick for a minute. What's going on the West Coast? The Pacific Plate is subducting under the North American continent. It's taking a deep dive into the core of the Earth. Just like this. It's subducting. Okay? Meaning it's putting pressure on the West Coast of the United States and Canada. Putting pressure on the West Coast of Canada and the US. That pressure is going through the entire plate, through the entire countries, moving to the east. Then we have pressure also coming from the Atlantic Plate. And the Atlantic Plate is pushing the North American Plate in a south-southwesterly direction. The Atlantic Plate, the Atlantic Ocean, is expanding from the center of the Atlantic Ocean. It's spreading like this. And the Atlantic Plate is pushing on the North American plate and pushing it in a south-southwesterly direction. We're getting earthquakes over on the East Coast. Earthquakes on the East Coast. What is really going on? Let me stop this and show you a picture of the craton so you'll truly understand what I'm talking about. I don't usually show this all the time, but I feel it's necessary. The blue part, the blue ocean off to the right, that's the Atlantic plate. The violet area to the right of the brown craton, the North American plate. That violet area that you see there, that is what they call the deformed craton. The deformed craton. That is the foothills of the eastern craton, meaning the mountainous region is building in that area up to the continental divide on the east coast. The Atlantic plate is pushing this continent in a south-southwesterly direction, causing earthquakes and tremors all up and down the entire fault line. I should say over here, all up and down the entire fault line, the Eastern Continental Divide. That's what's going on. Now it goes even further than that. Real quickly, let's go back here. Okay, I want to show you this. Let's show you briefly what's going on the East Coast, because a lot of you may not be aware. Maybe you're new. Maybe you're new. You may not have heard that word craton, or the deformed craton, the foothills. The foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, the foothill of the Appalachian Mountains. That's the deformed craton. But folks, there's more. There's a lot more. Okay? Real quickly, let's go over here to the state that I live in. Roper, North Carolina. Look at this. Look at the tremors here. This is all tremors, guys. This is literally all tremors. And then they turned the seismograph off. Look at that. They turned it off. Right after I pulled this seismogram, they turned it off. Not that I pulled this seismogram, they turned it off. They turned off this morning as well. There's no record of seismic activity here in Roper, North Carolina this morning. None. Zilch. Zip. Up at the top line is 12 noon today. We have an earthquake here, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes after 12 this afternoon. We had a 2.0 earthquake. That's just one example of that pressure that I told you that's on the east coast of the United States. Okay? Let's take you over to Kings Mountain, Blacksburg, South Carolina. Look at this. This is South Carolina. Like I said, it's happening. Fortunately, we don't have any earthquakes here. We have a lot of tremor activity, don't we? Usually there's a lot more than this. But look what happened here. They turned the seismograph off 2 separate times this morning. Why? Why did they do it? We don't know. And I called over there to the University of South Carolina to ask, and I did not get a call back. Nobody called me back. I hope tomorrow they will, because I want that question answered. Why was that seismograph turned off twice this morning? Not just for a couple hours, not even 3 hours, but 4 hours here. Look at that. 3 hours at the end of this morning. 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. 3 hours here. And before that, 8 o'clock hour, turned off for an hour there. What's going on? I want answers. And yes, when I call these universities back, usually I do get a call back, and they give me whatever answer they want. But this is what's happening, guys. Let's go over to Georgia. Okay, it continues up and down the entire East Coast. Let's go over to Savannah, Georgia. Look at this, guys. Look at this morning. I'm sorry, this was this morning. Microquakes and minor tremors. Microquakes and minor tremors. Except for one place. Actually 2. There were 2 earthquakes today. Okay, one after 6 a.m. this morning. About 6:11 a.m. this morning, we had a 2.5 magnitude earthquake. Then, the next one happened after 8:45 a.m. this morning. 8:46 a.m. this morning, we had another 2.8 magnitude earthquake. We can't see the bottom of it because they've turned the seismograph off. We can't see the bottom of it because they turned it off. Then, down here, this morning, we had another earthquake. This one is at 11:45. I'm sorry, not 11:45. 11:30. 11:35 this morning. This was a 3.0 earthquake. We can't see the bottom of it because it was off paper. There was a 3.0 earthquake here in Savannah, Georgia. Okay? Unreal. Unreal, guys. That happened this morning. The entire East Coast is moving. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The entire East Coast is moving, being pushed in a south-southwesterly direction, putting a lot of pressure on the New Madrid Fault. A lot of pressure. The New Madrid Fault is being pressured from the west and the east. It's being pushed, smashed, if you will, putting a lot of pressure. And it's not just that. There's pressure coming up from the Gulf of Mexico and from South America. A lot of pressure coming up from South America and through the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico is also expanding because there happens to be a huge volcano in the center of the Gulf of Mexico. So there's all that going on. It's no wonder that the New Madrid Fault is finally moving. For years it went by with just tremors, nothing more than tremors. And now it's really, really moving in a big way. We expect a 7.0 to an 8.0 earthquake on the new Madrid fault within the next couple of years. If it doesn't happen, it will be soon after that. But it's going to happen. The seismicity is increasing. We've seen upwards of 4.0 earthquakes on the new Madrid fault. 2 years ago, it was nothing more than 1.2, 1.7 tremors. That was it. Anywhere. All of a sudden, we've gone to from microquakes and tremors up to minor earthquakes, small earthquakes, and even over to 4.0 moderate earthquakes on the new Madrid fault. So we know what's going on. Kimberly Hopkins, 2 years is not a long time. It's going to be soon, and it could be even sooner than that. We don't know. We don't know. We see what's happening on the West Coast. USGS doesn't even report on it half the time. They never put it on their maps. Heaven forbid anyone even knows what's happening. The only way you know what's happening is if you go into the seismograms, and then they even hide those. We've seen that happen too. We don't know what's going on up north. We have some idea because we're watching the volcanoes, but they're not even reporting all the earthquakes that happen all over Washington, Vancouver, British Columbia, down into Oregon. Folks, we are monitoring the volcanoes for the most part. We're also monitoring the slow slip, the minor tremors and minor quakes that are happening all over that area. And tomorrow, I'm going to try to focus on nothing but that. Unless there's something bigger happening at the volcanoes, I'm going to show you the slow slip and the minor quakes happening all up and down the northwest coast. Okay? That's what's happening tomorrow. So guys, stay tuned. Tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell everybody, your neighbors about this program. If you live in these areas, you have a reason to be concerned. If you have relatives and friends in these areas, they have a reason to be concerned, because we have continued to show these earthquakes and these minor tremors building into a lot bigger event. And it's soon going to be a major event. Okay? Renee Steffi saying, makes me wonder what the USGS is hiding and why. They say they're not hiding anything, but they're also not showing it on their maps. If they're not showing it on their maps, it's called hiding, because people have to know how to get into the seismograms to be underway to know what's going on, and be able to see the seismograms and have the knowledge that I have developed over a long period of time. Yeah, I have a degree, but my degree does not even work in today's world. It got me started. It gives me a basic understanding of what's happening now, but I had very little experience with reading seismograms when I was in college. Very, very little. I have a lot of experience out on digs in the Mojave Desert and all over Southern California and into Arizona. I have a lot of experience there. But folks, it goes a long way to have even more experience going and seeing what's really happening, and having a working knowledge of what's happening and what's going to happen. That's where my experience has real importance. Okay? Now, in the waning moments of this program, okay, I want to talk about two more things. First one, more physical, with our knowledge and experience of what's going on around us. Has nothing to do with earthquakes necessarily. It has everything to do with who we are and where we've come and where we are right now. Don Patoka said this in a message earlier today. Maybe we are crazy. I used to be a normal person. I used to think I was pretty much just a regular person. I was born white into a two-parent household, which now, whether I like it or not, makes me privileged, a racist, and responsible for slavery. Really? Yeah, that's what they want us to believe. Now, as he says, I am fascist. Well, so am I. Most of us who are conservatives, moral conservatives, are considered to be fascist, which by today's standards makes us a fascist because we plan, we budget, and support ourselves. I went to grammar school and have always held a job. But now I find out that I'm not here because I earned it, but because I was advantaged. Really. I am heterosexual, which, according to gay folks, makes me homophobic. I'm also not a Muslim, which now labels me as an infidel. Don goes on to talk about his age. I'm over 60, making me a useless dinosaur who doesn't understand Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Snapchat. I think reason and doubt most of what the mainstream media tells me. I check my reason at the door when I look at the mainstream media. I don't even listen to mainstream news anymore, making me a right-wing conspiracy nut. I happen to be proud of my heritage and our inclusive culture, making me a xenophobe. See where I'm going with this? I believe in hard work, fair play, and fair rewards according to every individual's merits. Every individual's merits, which today makes me anti-socialist. I believe our system guarantees freedom of effort, not freedom of outcome or subsidies, which must make me a borderline sociopath. I believe in the defense and the protection of my nation for all, and by all citizens, which makes me a militant. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud of our flag. And I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm proud of everywhere where people live, where they try to live the best lives they can. I'm proud of that. Like I said, I am proud of our flag, and it flies behind my home in proud fashion. And it stands out for what I believe in: freedom, honesty, and love. And I also believe it represents the people who've died to let it fly. So I can stand during our national anthem. So that must make me a radical. Funny, it all took place over the last decade. If all of this nonsense was enough to deal with, now I don't even know which toilet to use. And these days, I gotta go more frequently. God bless all of us normal people. God bless all of us normal people. Now, folks, along with this, someone else wrote this, and I believe in it, so I'm going to read it to you. What we're going through now is not a cultural war. No matter who says it, this has nothing to do with culture. This is a spiritual war. Many of us aren't Christian. Many of the people who live in our countries are not Christian. Many even don't ascribe to a faith at all. Despite that, people still condemn us morally. They condemn the moral, outrageous conduct that's taking place in our society, and rightly so. It's an abomination to our very nature as human beings. But why? Why is it so morally outrageous for men to sleep with men, or pretend to be women, to groom children for sexual acts, and to pervert natural law? What is natural law if we merely evolved from pond scum and entered into this enlightened state of evolutionary chance as thinking, feeling human beings? Then who is to say that what's taking place is immoral or wrong? God is making that statement. God, who is the creator and architect of all life, created the natural order of our world, and we chose to defy him through the free will he gave us. By doing so, the destruction of sin entered into this world and set to work into its chaos and its opposition to God. This was not a chance event. However, the devil, Satan, picked a name among the many in every language and tongue. A higher being than us sought to overthrow God in his vain attempt for what God had created, humanity. He hated that he was to serve and guide mankind because we were lesser creatures than himself. Therefore, his war with God had him thrown from heaven. He was thrown out of heaven. Since then, everything put into motion according to God's will has been opposed and attacked by Satan. The family, the one true thing that hangs our society together and keeps it together, has been attacked. The natural order of sexual relations, our biology as man and women, and even our free will, has been attacked without ceasing for thousands of years. Our free will was created by God. Satan wants to destroy it. Prior to the cataclysmic flood that erased 99.9% of all life on earth, Satan and the fallen angels polluted the DNA of mankind and animals, creating abominations in the process. This is why life was wiped out. This is why the Israelites were ordered to kill every man, woman, and child in the civilizations they overthrew in the Promised Land even after the flood. destroy man's DNA, and making him something other has been Satan's mission all along. And it continues today in what we're seeing with the mRNA. So whether you believe in God or believe in the devil or not, what's happening in our world is a result of spiritual warfare that transcends yours and my short time on this planet. The escalation of evil is not a new thing. It's just shocking to each and every one of us in our short historical reference. This is not new. The wicked machinations of mankind are only surpassed by the evil Satan himself. He is the true architect of everything that we see playing out. This is a spiritual battle. Calling it anything else is simply delaying the reality of what else is coming and what else will happen. Brothers and sisters, we're living in the last days. We're living in the last days. It's up to each and every one of us where we live. You don't have to come to the United States. Yes, a lot of people have said that it is the choicest land. Yes, it is. But where you live is also choice and fertile. We can turn this off if we desire. If we truly desire, we can turn off what is happening. I don't think that that is going to happen. I honestly think that it is too late. We have entered in, if not completely, we have just started the abomination of ages, maybe called the tribulation. This is where we're at. Every one of us that's here should learn to serve God, not Satan. We should understand and realize what is going on is not good for our society. And we all need to stand up as individuals and come together. Find people of like mind, like each one of us. Find people of like mind and stand up together to fight what is happening. This is truly our mission. This is truly our mission and what we should be doing. Folks, I have the scriptures. You should all have a copy of the scriptures with you. Read what God has put out for us. Read what Jesus Christ's mission is here on this earth. Prophets of old have prophesied of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. Jesus Christ came here for a reason. He took upon himself all of the sins of the world. He died and was resurrected for each one of us, setting the example for us so that we could return to him. That's our purpose, to return to our Father in heaven, the very person who made us, to return to God and to live in his kingdom forever. That's truly why we are here. But If we don't turn this off, the Lord is going to destroy it one more time. This time, not by water, but by fire. I have a testimony of what I'm talking about. As a law enforcement officer for so many years, I have first-hand information of what our society has done. After I left law enforcement, I had good reason. I was glad when they finally said, "See ya, bye-bye." Yeah, Obama cut the budget in 2009. For my department, we went, bye-bye. Guess what, guys? It's now our responsibility to take over and bring our world back where it's gone. May God bless us to be righteous. May God bless us to stand up and stand in holy places and be who God would have us be. To stand up for righteousness, stand up for what is right, and stand up for our families. That's what we need to do. Stand up for our families, protect our children and grandchildren. That's what we need to do. It's my prayer and testimony that God lives. He hears and answers prayers. He's here for us. If we will just take moments, some time, and pray to God, and then stay on our knees and listen for the answers that God has for us. May we do that. May we be who we are and stand up. I hope that my father and mother and my grandparents are happy with who I am. I've changed my life around. I've become the person that I always have ever wanted to be. I'm doing what God wants me to do. God bless us all. May God be with us this day and always. Folks, we will be back here tonight after this program ends. If anything else happens, as soon as the information becomes available, I'll be back on the air to tell you about it. Until then, we'll be back here tomorrow evening. Same time, same bat channel. May God bless you and be with you and help us all to come out together. May God be with you till we meet again. I hope you have a good night and a better tomorrow. Keep smiling, everybody. We love you. We love you a lot. God bless you. I humbly say that in the name of Jesus Christ, even our Savior. Amen. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you on the other side.